The Almost Perfect Podcast.
Welcome to the Almost Perfect Podcast, a celebration of fuck-ups, failures, and falling flat on your face. This is a podcast that believes you can learn from experience, but that experience doesn't have to be your own. Hi, I'm Bob Perfect, and I'm a functional fuck-up. Let's learn from somebody else's mistakes. And today we're learning from Caelin Roodt. Now, Caelin is a photographer, she's a student, she's a single mother, and she's got a 9-to-5 with a jewelry brand, which I can't remember all of the titles that she holds there, but it's a number of them, and she will be telling you that in a few minutes, probably in the next 3 to 4 minutes time. You will find out exactly what she does for that jewelry brand, but right now I can't remember because I don't write down notes for the things I'm meant to say to you right now. Now, Caelin is amazing. She's a wonderful photographer, very talented, great eye, love her work. She's also just an incredible person. Like I said, she's a single mom, and as someone who grew up with a single mom, it was kind of cool getting to chat to her about that struggle. As I've gotten older, I've come to understand my own mom a lot more and resent her a lot less. And I think this conversation definitely helped a little bit in that regard and just putting things in perspective a bit. But Caelin's made a lot of sacrifices, none of which I think she minds too much. She's grown a lot in the last few years. And we discuss all of that. We discuss what it's like, man. I'm sure some of you listening to this are single parents and will be able to relate. Some of you might have grown up with a single parent and will be able to relate. And maybe, you have none of those things. Maybe you've got your partner. Maybe, you had both your parents. But either way, I think there's plenty of things in this podcast you will be able to relate to. Caelin and I get into what it's like, being white in South Africa, but not like in a things are so hard for us kind of way, but more just we're brought up racist and we have to continually try and fight that. So we discuss stuff like that. We get into how Caelin got into photography, how she got her first job for the Times of London as a journalist. She was doing photography before that, but that was her first journalistic job, was with the Times of London. So we get into how she got that and how her politics were shaped by so many of the things she saw and did as a photojournalist. So this is a really interesting conversation. It goes all over the place. I'm sure there's some things that I say that you'll probably disagree with. There were some things that I said that even I disagreed with when I was listening back. I was like, that's a little bit stupid, dog. But I'm going to leave it in there because whatever. It's the Almost Perfect Podcast. It's not the perfect podcast. So you're going to get some of my mistakes in there. And yeah, it's a cool back and forth conversation between Caelin and I. I think you're really going to enjoy it. And if you do enjoy it, you see, now everyone who's listened to this podcast before, they know what I'm about to do. I'm about to say, if you like it, you can like us on Facebook at the Almost Perfect Podcast. You can also follow us on Twitter at almost_podcast. And you can follow me on Instagram at almostperfectbob. Other than that, you can just listen to us. There you go. You're doing it already. Thank you. Well done. Good on you. You can also give some stars, a bunch of stars there on iTunes. Hit 5. Thank you very much. Much appreciated. Because apparently we haven't got enough ratings yet for iTunes to say, yo, this is how many ratings these guys get. We've had like 12 ratings, most of which are 5 stars, one of which is 4 stars. Thank you, but fuck you, but thank you. Actually 4 stars is about what I would give it. Actually, I would give it like a 3, but I appreciate the 5 stars. So yeah, you can give 5 stars. You can also just leave a comment on iTunes. You can just subscribe on whatever platform you are listening on, and all of that helps just a little bit. It helps to be seen by more people. It helps the analytics and the robots and the AIs go, yo, maybe if you like this, then you'll like that. You know how that thing works. Hopefully it's going to work for me and more people will hear this. Other than that, if you like the podcast, if you really like the podcast and you want to contribute a little bit of cash to it, then you can do so over at patreon.com/almostperfect. Now, Patreon is a platform where content creators can connect with their, I don't want to say fans, I'm just going to say audience, because I don't think I have any fans, but I definitely have audience members, and that's you right now. And this is a way that we can interact a little bit more. You can chip in, help with the costs of this podcast, which will be a thing soon as I can hire someone to edit it a little bit better than I do. And by that I mean a lot better. I think I'm getting better at the whole editing thing, but I definitely like to just hire someone else to do that. So if you want to help with that, you can go do so over at Patreon, and you will get extra benefits. I'm giving away a Harry Potter TCG starter kit courtesy of the Unseen Shop. Now this is going to anyone that is subscribed to the Patreon at the moment by the end of the month. So just get your Patreon subscription in by the end of the month, and you will be entered into the draw to win, yes, a Harry Potter trading card game starter kit for 2 people. So if you're a Potterhead or you know any Potterheads, perfect gift to give them, and you don't even have to tell them you want it. You can just be like, yo, I got this thing specifically for you because I saw it one day in a store and it made me think of you. Not, well, I was into a random lucky draw. I fucking hate Harry Potter, but I'm sure you'll like this. You know, don't tell them that. But if you like Harry Potter, then, you know, just enter into the vibe. I feel like I've been rambling a little bit, and I'm still going to ramble just a little bit more. Last thing I need to say is also on the Patreon, we're giving away a case of Durban Poison beer. So if that sounds like something you want, go sign up to the Patreon, because once we get to 10 patrons, I will send off a whole entire case. That's 24 beers to one of you. Obviously, you got to be over 18, and that applies to people in South Africa. The Harry Potter thing doesn't. I can afford to send that anywhere in the world. And also, other than that, you can also suggest guests and ask questions and a few other things that I'm working on at the moment. Cool. So that's the whole pitch of me trying to get money out of you. I'm just saying it's $1 a month. That's 14 Rand. That's like what? How much? That's like per week. That's 3 Rand something per week. I'm sure you get 3 Rand's worth of value out of this podcast every single week. And if you do, then go to patreon.com/almostperfect. If you don't, that's fine. I don't get any value out of you either, motherfucker. So it's all good. I do get, actually, that's a lie. I get some value out of seeing the stats go up each week. So thanks for listening. Thanks for subscribing. Thanks for all of the things. I really appreciate it. And let's get into the podcast with Caelin Roodt. So yeah, there's no need to feel nervous, Caelin. Oh, that's a very good start. It's just a... I think that's definitely...
Oh my god, that was actually literally how we met.
What, just you
You're
laughing?
just fucking laughing nervously.
Where did we meet? Amsterdam?
I think we'd met at the Bat Center and then
That
climbed
was
up
for
onto the roof of
Amsterdam. Yeah, and then I got threatened to be put in a grave,
I know. I'll never remember, like, you, what did you say? You were like, what do you want? What do you want? And I was like, I just want to have fun. Kill us just for one.
That's kind of just always been my philosophy. So, yeah, so this is Caelin Roodt, and you do quite a few different things, but like the reason why I've got you here is because you're a photographer.
Yeah.
That is the main thing that like I ascribe to, but you're also a single mom, and you're also doing a bunch of other things at the moment. So how does your day go? Because you were saying you wake up at like 4 a.m. now.
Yeah. So I started studying this year. I don't have like a degree or anything. I finished matric and then life happened. So this year I started studying a visual arts degree through UNISA, and trying to fit that in with being a single mom and working a full-time job, and you know, trying to fit in a whole bunch of other side gigs as well, means that I've got to be pretty strict about routine. And like I was getting home and just being completely exhausted and didn't really have the mental space to then study, so had to like reshift my schedule. So I go to bed at 9, wake up at 4. But this is the joys of being a single parent, is that my child has now decided that 4 o'clock is a great time for her to wake up as well. So like my plan has been fueled. But yeah, we're figuring it out, which is just kind of our vibe. We just keep figuring things out.
What was the change of like, you know, shifting to such early mornings like for you? And do you find you actually have more energy for it in the morning now to study and that? Like how?
Yeah,
like,
definitely. And it's nice to be able to start my day off with something that's important to me. And then like, I mean, my job is just there to kind of pay bills and all the rest of it. So it's like I get to wake up, focus on the thing that's important to me, spend some time with Mia. We do like 10 minutes of recorder, 10 minutes of guitar practice, get ready for like school and everything, and then off she goes. I go off to work, sometimes have like a half-hour break to have a cup of coffee and a catch up with a friend, and then yeah, hit the grind, slog away, and then get home, do the whole mom thing, and try and go to bed and like not sit there like wide awake thinking of all the things I could have done better in the day.
Is that how usually how you've been before? Like, have you just been a little bit obsessive about?
No, not at all.
No.
I
But is it
was
more
like,
now? Like, because you
Yeah,
got routine, you got schedule, you got so many hours in the day now that they
Exactly,
have
I've
to be
got
filled
so many
perfectly.
more precious things that I need to do with my time. I've become like so militant and like really strict with schedules and like, and yeah, it's also been good in terms of relating to people as well. Like, I'm really strict about don't fuck around with my time. Like, my time is precious. So if we say we're going to meet and hang out, like, that's what we're going to do. We're going to do it at X time. And like, and it's been good to keep like those boundaries in place.
I get
healthy.
super frustrated these days, like, when people are late and stuff like that, because you're like, no, like, I've got like another thing to do after this.
Yeah.
Like, I can't,
Yeah.
like,
We're all hustling.
I said 1 o'clock because at 2 o'clock I've got to leave. Like, if
Exactly.
you get you at 1:30, that fucks up everything.
Yeah.
So, like, and when I was younger, I was definitely like, oh, you can be 5-10 minutes late.
Yeah, fuck, be an hour late. Like, I don't care. Like,
Durban
life
time
happens,
fully.
Like, you keep going with the flow and like whatever. And yeah, now I'm just like, no, people that don't respect your time, no, just no.
So, what is your day job at the moment?
So I work for a jewelry designer. I do all her product photography, and I manage her e-commerce store, and I manage the kind of retail side of the production studio.
So, how'd you get into that?
And so I started working for her part-time. It was like a side gig that just became more lucrative, and the working environment was really positive, and it's really nice to have a steady income. And like, I'd been hustling the freelance vibe for so long, and
Yeah, we've been doing it. Like, I remember when you kind of
Yeah.
started it.
Yeah,
Like,
yeah,
I'd
yeah.
like been starting doing it. Like,
Yeah.
we used to both hang out at the factory cafe
exactly.
and like,
Yes.
get
It
our
was,
work
like,
done from
sweet
there.
Sweet times.
It was, but
also,
it's
like,
always just a
really
struggle.
fucking stressful.
Yeah, I
all the
remember
time.
how much you used to like stress
Yeah.
tons about like being able to
Yeah.
pay for everything.
Yeah, because you've got fucking bills that aren't going to stop coming in, and yeah.
Yeah, it's literally non-stop, and especially when
It's
you have a
non-stop.
kid, your bills
also,
double.
You want
Like,
to you want to provide for your kid in a certain way, and you want to be able to give them a certain lifestyle and a certain kind of like foot up in life, and yeah.
and that means
gotta
you've
be
got to
really
work harder.
careful, Yeah.
I mean, that's the thing. Like, yeah, my mom worked 2 jobs when I was growing up, and
Yeah.
when I was younger, I didn't really appreciate it as much. I definitely took stuff for granted. But like nowadays, I see like how much she sacrificed just for me to have like the life that I have now. Like to go from
Yeah.
where I was and like achieve the things I have is because of the sacrifices she made. So it's really dope that like you
And
want.
she wanted to make, I'm sure. Like,
Yeah.
that's the thing. Like,
Because you were saying like
fucking really
earlier,
want
like
to.
just how much like Mia's added to your life. Like,
yeah, exactly.
And but when before that, were you a bit more of a selfish person, or how would you see things? Like, was it a big shift in your mindset when you had a
Because I had
kid?
her so young, I had no idea of who I actually was as a person whatsoever. Like, so it's kind of difficult for me to know who I was before Mia, because I felt pregnant when I was 23, had her when I was 24. It's like, you're still trying to fucking like suss out where shit is at, and also like at the time I was in a like incredibly abusive relationship, and like that was all like really
Yeah, hence me getting threatened to be
overwhelming.
put in a grave.
Exactly,
Yeah.
Exactly. Fuck, remember that. Fuck. Like, you're probably one of the few people that I know who like has that kind of
Understanding of
view
who.
into that situation.
Yeah. And like that situation, how did you get into it? It's like, because I mean you were just young, dumb.
No,
like,
I think I had a childhood that was very devoid of love. Like, not to say that I didn't have a very privileged childhood. And
it's so weird because both you and your brother are so loving. Like, but
and I think we gave that to each other.
I can see that.
Yeah.
Yeah. Your
So-
brother's obviously the musician Caelin Roodt.
Yes.
So
Yeah, and he teaches me music on like a Monday evening, and yeah,
that's wonderful.
it is. It's the sweetest thing. It's like a really wonderful. Like, we've really formed
That's cool bonding
like a
time.
family kind of dynamic outside of like the norms of like the nuclear family kind of thing, and it's been really important to me, and like a really important theme as well, because of Ryan.
Yeah,
is,
Ryan
like, not,
Reno.
Yeah, he's not her biological dad, but he's the person that Mia sees as her dad, and him and I are not in a relationship, so there's having to navigate like something that you don't have a template for, in terms of how do you negotiate and sustain a relationship that's no longer based on what it was based on before, and it's now needs to take on like its own.
I've always
set of
wondered, like,
rules.
because you and Ryan were like in a relationship for a
Yeah.
while, and then you guys stopped the relationship, but Ryan kept on being
Yeah.
a father figure to Mia.
And it's amazing because I've got really high expectations of people, and I'll often have people coming up and going like, "Oh my God, it's amazing what Ryan's done! Like, it's just incredible," and not taking
That's
away anything
what you've
from
done,
the fact.
like-
Well, no, not taking anything away from the fact that what he does and who he is to me is absolutely 100% incredible. But like, what was your expectation that like someone was going to be involved in a child's life and then, just fucking ghost on them? Like,
I mean,
what is society's expectation? Like, is that okay?
Well,
like, is everyone
from-
okay with that?
From my experiences, every time there's was a dude with my mom for like 2 years, like they would try buddy up for a while, but like I always knew they weren't gonna last.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I never ever took them seriously.
Yeah.
So I definitely think I might have negatively affected some of my mom's relationships because of that.
Like, I think Mia's going to be doing that a lot. She's already like, no, you can't have a boyfriend. This is not happening. You're mine.
I mean, but that now does become the consideration as well with whoever you date. I would
Yeah.
assume is you've got to think like this: how does this person factor into my daughter's life first and
Yeah.
foremost, more than your own? I would assume.
And I don't think I did it as consciously with Ryan, but I definitely was very clear about like shame. Like, I remember seeing him alive, and I was like, I clocked him. I was like, that's my guy. He didn't stand a chance.
He is an absolute sweetheart.
He is. He's amazing, and it's been amazing to go on this like journey of, it's just a constant negotiation of, trust and boundaries, and I think it's done him the world of good. It's done me the world of good. It's done me a fucking such amazing service. So
Yeah, to have positive male role models.
Yeah.
I've heard they're quite good in people's lives. Like,
I don't know if it's
I mean, my mom was a pretty positive male role model in my life.
exactly.
Yeah, I mean, to be completely honest, I didn't have that many actual positive male role models in my life, and it still turned out okay.
And teachers and friends and
No,
maybe friends'
most of
dads.
them are like my first friend's dad who really liked me and appreciated me was Luke Smith, and I was like 18, 19.
Yeah.
Like Rob was like the first dad that ever made me like feel welcome in like a friend's home. So yeah, I never really had that at all. And most of my friends were older, but I was very misunderstood, by my surroundings.
Yeah.
So I never had, and also, not really positive male role models in Umbilo. All my older friends were, breaking shit, telling me to steal stuff, that sort of, exactly, that sort of thing, going to clubs at the age of 15 and because, exactly, so definitely no real positives, but my mom was strong, but I mean, I can definitely see if there was a good male role model in my life that it would have maybe changed the way I treated women earlier in my life. But at the same time, I think it could be the exact opposite because of how shitty most men are to women. And most of the behaviors you learned about that are negative, towards women are from older men. So I don't know.
Well, I don't know, because my impression of you, having known you for all this time,
It's been a while.
is that of all the crew, to me, you were always the one who you were really fucking good about chicks. I mean, you went through your fucking player stage and everything, but over and above all of that, I don't know, you always seemed like the one that wasn't actually doing the exploiting kind of aspect of it, that I feel like there was a phase where a lot of that was happening.
I mean, I was always conscious of trying not to be exploitative, if that made sense. I was always...
And is that not due to, your... Whereas some of the other
Yeah,
guys,
I might have had a bit more sympathy,
male
exactly.
role models in their lives,
But it was
That's
also, I just saw
really-
how my mom was treated probably, and so I didn't
Yeah.
want to do that
Yeah.
back. But at the same time, you also have your desires and your ego and all of that. And like, as a young guy, that drives you a lot. So it's almost impossible, like, well, it's not impossible to be a good guy when you're growing up. But at the same time, you know, most of us are going to be shitty, like, human beings to women,
and
like,
you're,
at times.
You're deconditioning from, you know, all the fucking shit that you get drummed into.
Yeah, like, fuck, I actually, yeah, feel sorry for, you know, 16-year-olds to 23-year-olds nowadays. I'm so glad I don't ever have to go through that again. Like, it's just like such a,
No.
I mean, I'm still going through like an existential crisis a day, but they're very different. Like, now it's not based
You've got more
on,
context to it, and like more grit to kind of like hold on to.
yeah, you're no longer like basing your self-worth on like, you know, whether or not you can get girls, which is,
Yes.
I think my player phase, as you put it, was
Yes.
about that. It was about
Yeah.
like validating myself through other people, through, if, you know, these girls like me, they see value in me, so that's good. But that's also very shallow, and you don't give the girls like much value back because you're actually just trying to get something from it.
Yeah.
So I don't know like if it's ever been like that
but I
for
mean, it's
you,
that
like
thing of being desirable, like
Yeah.
that thing of like basing your desirability on, you know, your sexuality as opposed to, you know, other aspects of yourself. And I think when you're young, like it's one of the things that you know, like by the time you get to like your late teens, 20s, like one of the like things that you probably know the most about yourself is whether you're gay or straight. I mean, maybe that's something that comes like
I don't know.
later
That's
as well.
that,
Like, you
that's
have a
something
little
that
bit
I've
more,
always like had some
grittiness
doubts every now and
to-
again.
Yeah,
like
but I mean, like you kind of
even as you get older,
yeah,
like
or you kind of also kind of know like, well,
I'm a
like,
little bi.
I'm straight, and I've definitely got like, you know,
yeah, Ryan Reynolds, you know, Ryan Gosling together, that would be a good time.
be a good time.
Like no matter
Such a good time.
exactly, no matter who you are, like no matter how you
Oh
identify.
my god, can we please make that happen? How do we make that happen?
Oh man, yeah, that would be such a good time.
Such
So
a good time.
so there you go. Even like, but so you were saying, you know, you'd kind of know your
Yeah, so I think like you then kind of base your desirability around like that one aspect of yourself that you know. So, you know, then it becomes about like, you know, whether a guy finds you attractive or a woman finds you attractive, that becomes like a commodity in a way in your social kind of circle.
Well, that's it. I do think it is social currency as well as just confidence for yourself. Like, you know, you feel better about yourself because, yeah, you managed to hook up with someone who you thought was out of your league, like, you know, before or something. And then, like, it just
Fuck, it's
becomes
so
a weird,
sad.
shallow,
It's
like...
such a fucking sad bastard situation. So glad I'm in my 30s.
That's the cool thing. Like, as you get older, you're just like, fuck it. Like, just, yeah, be with someone because you like being with
Yeah,
them.
also just know yourself better.
Yeah.
Just
Like,
know yourself better, yeah.
do you feel like you know yourself a lot better now? Well, obviously more than like in your early 20s, but as you've gotten older, like, do you find yourself being more sure of yourself or
Yeah, way more. I do not suffer fools.
like, but just every year?
I don't know if I ever have. No, I definitely have suffered fools. No, I'm way more kind of resolved in who I am and like, yeah.
So who are you?
Ah. You're not my therapist.
Yeah, I'm not Mark Maron yet. We'll get there one day. But okay, well, one of the things I did remember about the time at Factory Cafe and the early days of you trying to hustle, because you also brought it up before we got on cast, is you're a photographer who just straight up became a journo for the London Times, or who?
Yeah, the Times of London.
The Times of London.
Yeah.
Like, you hadn't had any experience before that.
In journalism.
No,
Well,
you were a
yeah.
photographer
So
before
what?
that.
So what? How did I get? Oh, it was Samora and I. Both of our kids.
Samora Chapman.
Yeah, Samora Chapman. Both of our kids were going to this amazing preschool. If anybody out there has kids, you've got to send your kids to Gina and Gecko. Just putting it out there. Like the most.
Especially if you want your
schools.
kids to be like free, like thinking kind of vibes.
Yeah, and like just have a good solid foundation. She's amazing, and also just support for you as well. And so him and I were sending our kids to the same place, and we're both photographers. And there was the.
And he's like
Forced
also
removals
kind of doing the vibe of like, he's not entirely a single parent, but he's co-parenting, and so
Yes.
he's also got to
Yes.
provide.
Yes.
Like, he's also got to like make money as a photographer.
Yeah,
like
we'd often hang out socially and stuff like that, and the forced removals were happening in Cato Manor, where
I remember that time. Yeah.
so people were getting kicked out of their, well, not kicked, like fucking their homes were being bulldozed down and they were being shot at in order to get them to flee. And they didn't have the court order at the time that we were kind of investigating, but they had subsequently got a court order that prevents the red ants, what they are commonly known as, from coming in and just like forcing them from their homes on like fucking shit days, like the day before Christmas, you know, like fucking awful. So there was a lot of stuff that was happening.
Do you think they do that as like a psychological thing to deter them, like to be like, if you come, like, yeah,
and another like psychological fuck up or fuckery is they will often get people from their own community and like give them the fucking uniform and send them in, and that's like what you're getting paid to do today, so like off you go, if I can get out there and like,
that is fucking evil.
Yeah,
because the reason why everyone's there is because they're not employed, and so you give someone employment to remove everyone there.
Exactly. The dark shit.
Fuck, that is.
And there are loads of assassinations happening.
I know about a lot of. I remember especially at that time.
Yeah, weren't being investigated.
I mean, most of them still aren't.
Yeah, like there was an I think it was the MEC. This is like going a while back, but there was an MEC who had threatened that people that were causing problems, like the kind of.
Yes, I remember this. Yes.
He was that they were going to be dealt with, and this really hectic assassination happened like a few days afterwards. That just like really reeked to high hell that it was him, like putting all the dots together. But yeah, it was never a case that was brought against him, I don't even think.
I mean, well, we have a lot of that happen, like here in KZN.
Yeah,
like
KZN's the highest province of political assassinations.
I mean, I get, because I get updates, like private updates about like what happens on different townships and different vibes. Like because of Durban is yours, I'm on a few different lists, and so I hear like a lot about a lot of like the political killings and a lot of like the hostel killings and stuff like that. And it's they know who it is, like, and no one ever gets arrested.
Yeah, and like massive like gang groups that form around and rally around, and like, and even prior to 94, like. It was also just like a real hotbed of like hectic political violence, like more so than anywhere else, like quite particular.
Well, yeah, we had that. Like, I mean, I don't know how much people listening know the history, like, you know, with the IFP and the ANC and stuff. It's actually a weird thing. I guess we're also at that age now where we talk about stuff that we would assume a lot of people would know, and they probably don't. Like youngsters these days have no real clue about.
Yeah. I mean,
what
like
happened
doing this degree is really testing my ignorance about this a lot, like because a lot of the artworks are made in response to, you know, times and places that I thought I knew about, but I really don't. Like my knowledge is really lacking.
Well, because we're not really taught like enough in school. I mean,
but I also think it's a bit of a propaganda thing of like, you know, the whole Rainbow Nation, like nation building kind of
that was
didactic that we were fed in like junior school, and like, you know, we sing the new anthem and everything was like this like real black blankets over, you know, hot coals.
Yeah, I mean, it's been that way ever since, and like that's why we see like, you know, that's been cracking forever now. Yeah. Like because it's not real redress. It's, you know, we don't have like we need to redistribute wealth. Like that's the only, like, I get how we do it is a complicated matter, like, of course, but at the moment too many people don't have enough money and too few people have too much money, and that is why we have literally all the problems that we have. It's, if you can't see that, you are willfully ignorant, I think. I mean, the reason why people are living, you know, in shacks is because you are living in a mansion. Like those two things correlate. They are together. Like they. Absolutely. It's
So I haven't actually researched this statistic, but it was something that a friend told me. So I don't know, but something crazy like 50% of our national healthcare budget goes to supporting subsidizing private healthcare.
I had no fucking clue about that, but that is true. Like I want to burn stuff down.
8% of the population.
Yeah, I mean, I can't use private healthcare, so.
No, me neither. Like, it's just completely unattainable. And
most people can't.
And like an absolute capitalist swindle. Like Discovery is issuing credit cards, people. This is
they're a
like-
bank.
They're a fucking bank.
They always were though. That's
Yeah.
But that's I mean what insurance essentially is. Like it's its own form of banking. Like
Yeah.
you're just
Yeah.
depositing in
So
lieu
I
of
am
like you're
all-
gambling.
I am
Like
all- I mean, like I am all for nationalizing, like in healthcare and having like.
I mean, our healthcare is nationalized though. Like it's just not efficiently run.
Well, no, I think we need to do away with private healthcare. Like that
Completely.
should not be a thing.
Do you not? Okay, this is an interesting conversation. Do you not believe in having private and public running side by side?
No, because then you have this divide between those who get to purchase a better service.
No,
that's
but
a
I mean,
service
no,
that
you
should
just
be
tax.
granted to everybody.
No, but the thing is, if you tax the rich, then you can just make public stuff good, and
I
then
still
private.
think you should fucking tax the rich.
Yeah, but the thing is, private
So in
private then becomes
in
irrelevant
Germany,
if you make it good enough.
How we're talking about in Canada. So
Yeah.
Canada has, chatting to like a German medical student who was staying with me recently, Canada has this system where everybody they've got one company that services the healthcare and it provides healthcare for every single citizen, and the healthcare is absolutely the same across the board. There is no chance of like upgrading your room or anything. Everything is exactly the same. And you know how when you go to
I do
get
like
your
that.
fucking ID done and you like everybody has to be on that same fucking bureaucratic painful fucking level? It is beautiful. I think more of that shit needs to happen. Like
Except-
we need to get out of the fucking like South Africa is really good at building little fucking bubbles.
Yeah.
And like I love going to Home Affairs because it's one of the few places that those bubbles are like really burst and like you've got Madam with the Gucci and like someone else behind who like probably hasn't been able to have a bath for 3 days standing right up against her Gucci Prada handbag. Like that is important. We need to have those spaces where we interact
We
together.
definitely do need to have more of those spaces because, I mean, you just look at how wealth like segregates itself. People keep moving up the coast. People, you have Mount Edgecombe, you have like all
Yeah.
these different places where more and more people are becoming more and more segregated.
Yeah.
Like,
you just go and you go in your fucking car into a bubble, you leave your bubble in your bubble of a car and you land up at your bubble of an office and like you never actually interact with people that are on the other side. So it's incredibly difficult for you to have empathy for them.
yeah, or just any sort of perspective of how the world actually
not
is.
Not fucking excusing it, but
No, I mean,
think
but
it's
that
a
is
massive
it.
structural problem.
No, I agree with you 100%, and it just keeps like reinforcing itself though. Like that's
Yeah.
the way the structures have been created are so that they keep enriching like a small class of people continually. And that's why like I do like feel like we do need to
So do away with fucking private
Yeah.
healthcare and health insurance.
I can definitely
Health
see that.
Insurance should be something that everybody can afford to, or it should be graded in terms of how much you can afford to contribute.
Yeah, but everyone should get base level.
Absolutely.
Healthcare.
Everyone should get the same fucking healthcare.
No, I agree with you there. I mean, I was just saying it like from a and like I mean not from a healthcare standpoint, but in general, like I do think capitalism and socialism can go side by side, but probably not with essentials. Like shouldn't have privatized water. We shouldn't have privatized electricity. Like no, some people are arguing that,
And
especially at the moment. And I get it with Eskom being Eskom, but Eskom doesn't need to be what it is. Like
No, and like that's also, that's a problem that is a problem at the moment, but because it's a problem that affects the rich, I predict that it's probably going to be a problem that we solve quite quickly.
But Eskom,
Yeah.
we'll see.
Because it's impacting the people who
I think
have the power in the country in terms of like
my tinfoil hat
money
is
and
on in that it's being used by the rich to short like the country, like to make stuff go down, to make things worse, so that they can buy shares and stuff for cheaper, so that they can clean up, and then all of a sudden things are good again. And
that was dark, Bob. But yeah, fuck, maybe that is exactly what's happening.
I mean, I don't know. Like, I mean, it's a possibility. Like with all the crazy shit that's happened over forever in this country, like all the corruption that's happened, all the dark things that have happened. This is literally the darkest thing that they could do, is putting the whole country in the dark.
So the power went out just before, like 2 hours before I came here, and it was like lighting candles. And it was like, oh, it's like we all get to have like a candlelit vigil, to think about the poor and like all the children that have died in shack fires, and
I don't know how many people are thinking about shack fires, but they probably might think a little bit more about, like, oh, this is something other people do every night.
Yeah, like, could you read your kid a bedtime story tonight?
With a paraffin lamp, yeah. Like, it's... I mean, and that is the one thing I guess about it. But what that makes me think is just no, we need to provide services for everyone.
For everyone.
Like not
Exactly.
yeah, we shouldn't all be like communal.
That was my kind of like thing. It's like it's affecting people who have at the moment, but it's been affecting people who haven't had for fucking time eternity.
Exactly. And I don't know if that's going to change. Like I don't. But yeah, so we had all those forced removals. You went and shot it with Samora.
And I were like really fucking did some amazing work. We were like interviewing people and yeah, I think I was really out of my depth. Like now knowing more that I know now, it would have been good for me to have more information behind me before approaching it, but yeah.
At the time, you take the opportunity because it's an opportunity,
yeah,
and it's something you cared about.
It was like this. We have to say like something has to be like spoken about, and we're not seeing it kind of being communicated clearly in the media that we're being like exposed to, and so we went off and like did some like really proper interviews and like. Kind of like follow.
Was this like your first like journalistic experience at all in any way?
Yeah, like fucking green as anything. My dad was a journalist, so there was kind of that idea, and like I had a very clear view on like ethics about those things.
It's also kind of weird. Like your dad was a journalist, Mitch's dad was a journalist. He became a journalist. You became a journalist. Like
Mitch and I are so tight around that as well. We can sit and like chat about like the first time I met Mitch, we were like sitting on the patio of Peter's place, and like I think we spoke for like 4 hours.
Just like for context, so Mitch Harper, who I've interviewed before on the podcast, and Peter Mason, who Mitch spoke about on the podcast, and who used to live with a bit.
Yes.
But we might chat about that just now. But still, so you started out.
So we were like doing this kind of groundwork, and then like life happens, and like there were times that Samora could go, I couldn't go. There were times that I could go, Samora couldn't go. And there was like a march that was happening that I was aware of, and like texted him, he couldn't make it, so I went down by myself. In hindsight, maybe a bit naively, and I met up with this amazing journalist, Ruth McLean, and she is a journalist for the Times of London, and
so you went there not having like an outlet yet.
Yeah, nothing. I think we had.
Okay, just so people know that's not usually what people do. Like usually people go on assignments, especially for stuff like that.
I know, but
or you would have pitched the story beforehand, like being like, "This is happening. Should I cover it for?"
I was really invested in the story and the fact that like it wasn't being given the platform that it should have been given. That
and it's crazy that the London Times is the one that's.
Yeah. Well, because Sabu Zakode had like really close connections with a lot of kind of top-ranking academics, Noam Chomsky being one of them, and they had issued statements saying that they were really concerned about what was happening in South Africa, and I think this then spurred on like international interest into it. So I met Ruth, and her and I clicked it off immediately, and we had like a really good kind of understanding. She appreciated how like ethically concerned I was about things and doing things from a very ethical point of view, and like I learned so much from her. It was amazing. So it was this great collaboration, and we worked on quite a number of stories together, and that was how I became a stringer for the Times of London, and then various other.
How long did that last for? Is it still going on? Are you still?
No, being a single mom and having to like drop things at like an hour's notice.
Yeah, being a photojournalist is
drive, and not have any kind of net to catch the fallback. It wasn't something that I could do long term. It also wasn't something that was being good for me.
Yeah.
And there were a number of situations that I found myself in where. I was like, shit, there's this kid, and this kid is like...
You've got to get home.
I just, like, I saw some really hectic stuff, and I don't think I was, like, prepared
like that.
to...
Okay.
Yeah, I don't think I was prepared for it. And, like, I had responsibilities at home, and I needed to kind of focus on those. And then there was an incident on, like, the last story that we did together which kind of meant that they actually cut ties with me, where I was told to take a photograph of someone who had explicitly told me that they didn't want their photograph taken.
So I mean, easy decision for you.
The picture editor said, like, you have to take this photograph, and I was just like, no. And yeah, I didn't take the photograph, and that was the last time I worked for them.
It's kind of weird since they liked you because of your ethical standpoint.
Yeah,
and
well,
then
I mean, she liked me, and she still
liked
believes
you,
in me. And it was a personal kind of connection with her that's kind of...
So, that's also, I mean, I know this from experience, like,
Yeah.
The publications I've written for, I write for the editor. I don't really write for the publication. I write for the person who I'm working with, like on it. And oftentimes you do have that, like where the publication itself isn't necessarily on your side. Like the editor or the person you're working with might, but you do have those issues. And I've found myself not working for places because of that.
It's a really conservative paper.
Oh, wow.
Ruth has subsequently left. She now works for The Guardian.
Okay.
And is their West African correspondent, I think, unless things have changed since I last chatted to her. And so, and then there's, to be able to make really decent money, the international work was really sustainable, but you don't have a lot of international interests that kind of can pay for that kind of work. So
you can, every time you send them one photo, you get paid well for it. But the times they want you to shoot,
you get paid well for doing the assignments and and all of that. You get paid really well.
Were you writing as well?
Also, no. But
okay. So you got paid to actually just go, and then you also got paid for the shots.
Exactly, that's how it works. You get your kind of expenses covered, and you get paid to, especially if they've commissioned you to do a story. Then you get paid kind of like a flat rate, and then if they publish, then there is a rate for image that's published. Or if you just submit, then they just pay you for the photographs that they publish.
They actually use,
And it was sustainable, but the stories just weren't enough to kind of keep me going.
And it's also you've got to keep finding horrible stories. Because I mean, a lot of they're horrible stories in that they, because of your mindset and because of what people want in terms of news, you obviously wanted to show the stories of people being downtrodden and having a hard time.
I mean, there's another thing, photography is always manipulated. There isn't a
yes,
single photograph.
your image is used with words, and those words determine.
Even in me taking a photograph, I'm applying my own context and my own bias and my own kind of point of view on how I take it, the angle that I take it, the light.
What you include in the background.
All of that is part and parcel of a manipulation of an image.
Yeah, I mean,
whether it's done with the purest intention or not, there's no such thing as a just a straight purist kind of image.
I like that. Yeah.
Yeah, and I think I needed to do a lot more work on myself before I started to point my camera at other people, and I was feeling conflicted about that. I was there you can get. There can be a thing where you start exoticizing poverty.
Yes.
And it becomes your commodity.
Poverty porn.
Yeah. Or war porn or violence porn. And, especially when there were the xenophobia issues happening in town, I definitely felt that the media was complicit in how that escalated.
Yes. Agreed entirely.
Yeah. So there were a lot of kind of complex issues that I was trying to navigate with that I felt that I wasn't actually doing what my initial intent was any good service.
And I mean, I don't suppose that's why you started photography though.
I kind of started photography because I got kind of thrown into it because I left school and I just started working as an apprentice for various photographers in Joburg.
But was that your passion or just a lucky job?
No, I mean I didn't even... I think I've always had a very visual kind of image-driven kind of view of the world, and very emotive and expressive and in those ways.
But you could have gone graphic design. You could have gone art.
No,
you could.
Graphics design. No. No offense to the graphic designers.
But not for you. But visual arts in general was where you were always going to go.
And this is kind of where I'm kind of at now, where it's kind of looking at images in a more kind of complex way.
So you were in Joburg, you were apprenticing?
Yeah, I left school pretty much, I was running away from school pretty much high school. Sorry, Mom and Dad. And so I landed up in Joburg with a really shitty boyfriend and just started doing some apprenticing jobs through kind of social, like this is the thing. It's always been like through people that I know, like through having like good connections with people, and like.
I mean, I think like everyone that's in any way slightly successful is that way
and also just like
because of people they met.
Of luck as well.
Yeah, well, I mean, even just the people you meet are sometimes lucky. Like, you know, the conversations you have. Like, I mean, I remember the reason why I got to do Outland was just like, I think like Kevin Brownbill invited me to fucking, what was it? Like, there was a place on Florida Road, and like I met Chad, who then like, you know, like met me, and we had a conversation, and from there it followed up into a whole music festival, and it was just like a random night out, you know, like that leads down these paths, which is the crazy thing about life, like is
networking, baby. It's
networking or serendipity, you know.
Well, I don't know, because like I think it's more being able to connect with people in a really real way. Like that's always been my thing. It's like being able to like really connect with people.
Yeah, and you're not a fake person at all. That's one of the things I do appreciate about you. It's like you keep it, but you've kept it real with me. Like you've like throughout the years, like definitely like at, you know, important times, like just said like some important shit that like it was like, oh yeah, I'm being a bit of an asshole now. like if Caelin's picking it up.
So hectic.
No, you're definitely not hectic at all. No, you've never been hectic to me. Like you've just like, when I've been like somewhat shitty, like you've called it out, and like it's appreciated.
Yeah, and I hope it comes back the same way.
I mean, I think it has, hasn't it? Like just in general with the people you keep around
definitely.
you, I'm sure they keep you on your toes.
I'm very careful about who I keep close. And like having good friends is like so important.
But the thing is, like, what I'm saying is like you would pick people that would call you out on your bullshit.
Yeah, definitely.
And like that is more
some
important.
My greatest friendships, like currently, are like amazing people who are so good at calling me out on my bullshit. Yeah.
That's what I appreciate like about Paige, my girlfriend, is that is like she's very good at like calling me out and stuff, but like unfortunately she's often the first person to do it, so I'm always like no, like and then a little while later like, oh yeah, Paige said this thing that actually is completely and utterly true, and I denied it at first, you know, but like, and
then do you go back and you say like, hey, you know that thing you said?
Sometimes. Probably not often enough, if I'm honest. Well. So like with photography, sorry, like complete change of direction there. So you got into it, and then what made you continue with it? So like, what was, I mean...
I didn't have any other skill. This was like the thing that I'd kind of fallen into, and like...
So you don't do other jobs? You hadn't done any other thing?
Yeah. It was like the one thing I knew how to do. So I then worked for Mr. Price for...
I mean, you're a Durbanite,
like
so...
9 months.
Oh, wow. That's a pretty short period, actually.
And left with a bit of a burning trail.
Oh, is it? You're not going back there?
Like, I left, and then I think, like, pretty much every single other person in my department exited, and then they demoted a manager, and, like, yeah. Yes.
It's funny, because I know, like, a lot of people at Mr. Price right now listening to this.
I know. Oh, God. So, like, I got asked to do an apprentice job, well, like just assistant job for a photographer. I think it was like maybe a week, maybe 2 weeks ago for Mr. Price. And like, I was like, yeah, absolutely keen, like always keen to make some extra side cash. And I had worked on this assignment and gone to bed at 3 a.m. the previous night, and then worked till 12 the following night, and then forgot to set my alarm and missed the bus. And I'm always that person that's like, okay, no, it's fine, I'm gonna get in the fucking car and drive. That's the fucking like journalist in me. It's like, I'm gonna fucking get that story, you know, like on it. And like I like had this moment where I was just like, no, absolutely not. I will not be risking my fucking car's petrol and lifetime, and like B, I'm not risking my life because I'm fucking tired and I'm probably going to crash the car.
That's the part,
C, if they never hire me again, that's absolutely fine. I've totally burned all my bridges. I've
had those situations many times.
I like rejoiced.
every time I've done that, like it's actually turned out to be okay. There's been a lot of jobs actually where I just haven't gone back. Like there's just that day.
So
there's just that day where you wake up and you're like,
what the fuck
you know what? I'm not
doing
this.
Like some shitty fucking photographer from Cape Town. Like this is beneath
I hope they're not listening.
I don't care.
I hope they're not listening. But
I don't care. I never met them. I don't know.
It's
They
okay.
might have been lovely people.
Caelin doesn't care, but I care. I want you as a guest on my podcast one day, and like anonymous Mr. Price
Don't
photographer
listen
from
to
Cape
me.
Town.
I'm an asshole.
And so you stopped. Well, you haven't stopped photography, but you
Well,
stopped
no,
being
so, yeah.
for the Times. What happened there?
Being a freelancer. Fucking freelancing is so exploitative. You never know when your fucking paycheck's going to be coming or not coming. Like, it's bad.
Yes.
And like, especially in advertising.
You learn good at
people-
you learn how to manage your money good.
You learn how to manage it, but I never needed fucking any more skills than that. Like, I'm a single mom. I know how to fucking manage my money
Yeah.
good, you know? But, like, you don't get any of the fucking, like, benefits of having a full-time job. You work 1,000 times harder on the job that you're working on. And, like, I don't know, there seems to be this, like, kind of glory associated to it, and I think it's bullshit. Like, it's so fucking exploitative.
I tend to agree. Like, as a freelancer who doesn't make a lot of money. Like, I mean, I get
Yeah.
paid fairly decently by the people who pay me to be right now. Like, I'm pretty stoked about it. I'm finally, like, after doing it for like 7 or 8 years now, get
Yeah.
almost my rate.
Nice.
Yeah.
This is bullshit. You should have been getting your rate years ago, you know?
Yeah, but it is
I
also
know,
it's
yeah.
the way the economy of this shit works, because
And like
there's-
freelancers are always the ones who get cut.
you're always
Yeah.
and you're always the last one to get paid. Like
Yeah.
so that's why I say, like, you get good at money management because you learn to
You just know it's not going to be coming. Like
Exactly.
They say it's coming in a month. It ain't fucking coming in a month.
exactly. So you need to make sure you always have money in
Yeah,
the bank.
exactly.
Like, you just like you have your 3 accounts
Yeah.
essentially. You know.
Exactly. I still have my 3 accounts.
Yeah, like, because you know, like, sometimes, like, shit, like, at the end of this month, if they don't pay me,
I
I
need to
still
know
need
that
to be able I can
still
cover everything.
Exactly.
And that's the horrible thing about freelance. I mean, I obviously do it
And
because
it's
I love
fine
it.
when
Like,
you're getting paid really well for the jobs that you're getting paid, but like 90% of the time you're not.
No.
In fact, 99.9% of the time you're not.
you're exploited.
You're
like,
exploited and you're expendable.
you are very expendable because
you've
guess
got,
what?
like,
Someone else wants to do the job as well.
Exactly, for a lot fucking less. And like, I think that my other thing of being like a photographer doing kind of like advertising shit is that there's really not much skill involved. I really don't believe that there's much skill involved. Like, the
I tend to
photographer
agree.
really
I tend to
doesn't do
agree.
anything creative. They literally just get
No,
told
it's just
what
well
to
lit.
fucking do. Exactly. You're told what you fucking do by the like art director or anything. You've really got no input in
I mean,
it
but
whatsoever.
it's the same thing with wedding photography.
Yeah,
like, you eventually,
completely.
like, I mean, by the time you've
I
done
think
it
I'm just
for-
too much of a control freak.
Yeah, but like the time you've done it for like 2 years, you've taken
Yeah.
all the photos you can take in that genre. Like, essentially, like, it's
Like, it's not getting, any more radical, let's be honest.
yeah. I mean, you haven't like every fashion photo. Well, not every fashion photo looks the same, but 90% of them look the same. Like,
yeah, and like there is a space for doing like really cutting edge, like amazing fashion photography, but like
Who's
there's
gonna pay
really
you to
no
do it,
fucking
yeah.
market for it here.
Yeah.
There's no market for it.
that I think is the biggest issue for creatives in South Africa, is that brands are just
I
so.
don't think South Africa, like there's some amazing cutting edge photography that's coming out of South
No,
Africa.
I mean in terms of
but
branded
in
stuff.
terms of fucking Durban,
Okay.
it's like who are like our kind of
No, that's the thing. There's no one who's gonna buy it. Like, there's no brands who are actually willing to put themselves behind like truly creative stuff in South Africa.
yeah.
Like, there might be creative photographers, but
No, they are.
okay,
well,
what? I mean, I haven't seen it. Like, I haven't seen much that really like makes me go, "That's awesome. That's cool. That's clever." Like,
yeah, I see some. Like, I'm not pulling any names at the moment, but I see some amazing photography.
Oh, no, I
amazing
see 'em.
fashion photography
Okay.
coming
Oh,
out
yeah.
of South Africa.
okay, I see lots of good photography and fashion photography, but
Yeah.
that's not like necessarily what I mean by like advertising. You know?
Oh yeah. Well, I mean, like advertising is just shit. Like, what creativity goes into advertising?
Once again, not my viewpoint, but also very much my viewpoint. I'm sure
It's where creatives go to die.
it's where
I'm
creatives
gonna
go.
lose so many friends.
Yeah, it's where creatives go to earn a paycheck, just like you've gone to do. Like,
exactly, and I don't have to invest myself in that. Like, I can completely compartmentalize and
you see, but that's why I think people do it as well. Like, they get into advertising because, like I said with Lee, like, it's creative adjacent, and so it's like
Yeah.
you're doing something kind of creative, or it's
Yeah.
like you get to use like a slightly creative idea with the same thing you do all the time.
well, you get to get paid for your skill sets.
That's mostly it, and your skill. But what I'm saying is, like, your skill set is at least to you, I would imagine rewarding, because you're getting to do something where you get to think creatively about it. So it's because for creative people, you can't be in a job where you have to just be analytical all the time. Like, you would struggle.
I really love a job like that.
Or to just be analytical all the time.
Yeah, like it's 8 hours. It's 8 hours of like, okay, cool.
I
this is what
definitely
I'm gonna
work
do for,
more than
like,
8 hours in a day, but I can't work 8 hours in a row.
But, like this is like, you go to a job and it's like I actually can't remember my working hours at the moment. But like 8:30 till 4:30 with a half-hour lunch break, right?
Yeah.
So it's like essentially like 7.5 hours. Like, that's it. That's what I have to give to it. Like, I don't have to.
Yeah, but
because I've got all this other time in my life that I then get to use to be.
But the thing is, like, advertising is a creative job to a degree. Like,
Yeah.
so that's what I'm saying, is people, I think, get into advertising because they're told you get to be creative plus
Yes.
make money.
Yes.
Like, so.
Yes. Yeah.
But
it's
whereas.
a lie.
I mean, you make money.
You make money.
Like, I've heard it's nice. Like
Having money.
Yeah, you see, because that's the thing. Like, I can. That's also the thing. Like, I don't espouse the virtues of freelance. I just do it because I want the freedom. Like, I know that I'm making sacrifices. I'm making major sacrifices in a lot of different ways by living the life I do.
I think it's worth it though. Like, if I didn't have a kid and all, like, I would definitely like just be doing my own.
And that is the thing. Once you get those like
Right.
different responsibilities, it does change your life trajectory.
Yeah.
I mean, if you didn't have a kid, how do you think? Like, this is a crazy question, but like, where do you think you would be now? Like, do you think you'd be as focused as like? Do you think you'd be as focused and
No,
as like
definitely
knowing
not.
yourself as well? Like,
Definitely not. Like, I've learned so much about myself and so much about life and so much about like managing life and managing people in my life. And I've had to learn it really fast as well.
yeah,
And it's like that, you can't fucking pay. Like, you can't pay to go to Harvard for that.
yeah, you can't get a degree in it.
Yeah.
You can read the books, but it's still not the same as when you're in the actual situation of this little motherfucker right here is testing my fucking buttons. But I'm not gonna give it. I'm not gonna do it.
It's like, I have become the most amazing negotiator, and it's been like amazing skills that I can take into my office, like, kind of space as well, because it's like, do this, no. But I said no.
So
that's my final word.
So you've learned to be both more affirmative and also to be a better negotiator.
Yeah, and it's like, just teaches you, like, being a parent teaches you so much about like human faultiness. Like, so you can really kind of like say, like, you're just having a really grumpy day, you probably need a nap. Like, you learn to take it not so personally. And
yeah, it's like, it's 3:00 in the
Yeah.
afternoon. Have a protein bar.
Exactly.
Yeah, it's like, have you had an apple? Have you had your afternoon apple?
Did you go and do some exercise this weekend?
Oh man, I can see how those skills can translate. And so obviously, like, but also, okay, on the other side, like, how much, I mean, it must be a constant fear of like thinking about like what you do, how it's going to affect her.
Like, there's no such thing as the perfect parent.
Yeah.
And it's like, your child will survive you.
No matter what.
They're really adaptable.
Yeah. I mean,
like, I'm not about to go and like, do anything that would result in her not surviving me. So, we're actually okay.
No, but I get what you mean there. It's just, yeah, like, no matter what. Well, I mean, I don't know. Like, different people do get fucked up, but it is.
Yeah, I know some amazing kids that have, amazing adults. They're actually still kids. This is my point. Like, people that have come from amazing homes
That are still terrible and
like really have not got their shit together.
And some amazing people come from terrible homes, and it's
like there is a point where it's life is what you make of it. From my perspective and from her perspective, I'm completely invested in giving her, absolutely everything to make sure that she can self-actualize in the most incredible ways, and I'm like so here to watch that journey. And like, but at the end of the day, there's going to be a point where it's no longer about me and it's going to be about her, and off you go into the world. And I hope that I've like given you the skills with which to cope with it, and cope with it because it's ever changing. Like, the world that I'm kind of raising you to be a part of might not be the world that you actually end up going into.
Yeah, I mean, well, this is the big fear at the moment for, I think, a lot of people, is that general anxiety about the future, because everything's happening so rapidly, whether it's technology, whether it's global warming, whether it's politics. But
I think it's also exciting. Like, I'm really excited for the future that Mia is going to go into.
I mean, because the potential is amazing.
The potential is incredible.
Like, the possibilities for the future of this earth are wonderful.
And it's like the possibilities are becoming wider and wider and wider and wider.
But it's just about making those possibilities the reality. That, to me, is always, that's my biggest stress.
Well,
I
think that's why you raise amazing kids. Like, that's why I think it's important for people to have kids. Like, I know that there's a lot of like, it's global warming, like we shouldn't be procreating, because it's putting pressure on
I'm
the
definitely thinking
planets.
we should chill out on some kids for a little bit.
I don't believe that.
I think we should just
extinction is not having children, is not procreating.
Yes.
Like, if we want the human race to go extinct, then yes.
Extinction is also overpopulation. Not that overpopulation is the issue, but overpopulation in areas where there isn't enough resources.
Fucking do amazing things under pressure, and I think we're going to see some incredible fucking results out of
but do you not worry that there's too many of us for solutions to be impactful?
I don't think there's too many of us, and the stats are showing that
there's 9 billion of us or something.
But the population rate is actually slowing down. It's decreasing. So that's the fucking great start.
I mean, but also the population isn't the issue. It's the
what I'm concerned about is that and hopefully Mia will not be, one of those kids. But how fucking horrible is that? It's like, I do think we're going to have a time on the planet where there's going to be more suffering, and I really hope that we're positioned in a way that she's not going to have to go through that abject suffering. But then you listen to stories of refugees that are coming from Syria and landing up in Germany, and they are amazing kids. They are such amazing kids. I listened to an interview recently of this young girl. She was the older sibling, and she was tasked with looking after a younger sibling, and she was an amazing swimmer. So when they were on the boat and there were too many people on the boat, she got off the boat and she literally swam the fucking boat to safety.
That is a level of gangster that I would never even imagine reaching.
So imagine, I don't think that a child should ever have to go through that and ever have to deal with the fucking pressure of having to be responsible for 20 other people's lives. Fuck, that's not cool. Yeah,
because if that doesn't go well, that's... But even if it does,
also just shows you the capacity for, human kindness and, just
And also, I mean, it's cliche to say, but kids are our future, and at the moment, they seem to kind of be. At the moment, they seem to kind of be our moral leaders.
We need to have more of them.
I know. So my thing is, there's enough kids without homes that rather adopt first and then maybe have a kid.
Yeah.
I mean, obviously, it's different.
I would be so keen on adopting. Yeah.
Yeah, we were discussing that earlier.
Definitely something on the cards.
But would you plan to? No, let's not get down that road.
No, go for it.
I was going to say, would you plan to adopt, before you had Mia? Or were you always thinking, maybe I'll have, my own children with the right guy? Or, what was your thinking? Did you ever think about kids beforehand?
No. I mean, I really considered abortion as, a very real option. I had booked an appointment at Maury Stopes and sat outside their fucking clinic. And I was like, okay, cool.
What made you not go in?
I think I just...
I hope Mia never listens to this.
No. I mean, I will always be really fucking honest with her about it, because it's the reason why I'm so pro-choice, is because in being able to make a choice about it,
you get to decide. Exactly.
Amazing parent, I hope, and has made her an amazing.
And it's also it's because you exactly, you weren't obligated.
Exactly.
You chose to do that.
This choice, and I'm dedicated to seeing it through to the end, and to the best of my ability.
But when you were there, what made
I'd had this dream the previous night. I know it sounds so cliche,
well,
but
it's your subconscious.
It was my subconscious. I think I just desperately. I think that it was a way for me to care for myself, and externalizing the child in me. I was able to care for a child that was also the child in me.
So you were able to care for yourself whilst caring for the child, and
big
time. So you feel you were able to deal with your own issues a lot more.
I had to. You like your kid will like make you confront all the issues like that you could even think, like things that you never even thought were an issue, or all of a sudden like oh wow, I've got that thing, I better deal with that. Like your kid will really like bring all of that out in you, and yeah, you've got to fucking confront that shit.
Yeah, you see, once again, this is reasons why I don't want a kid, man. Like,
you gotta be brave, Bob.
I'm already confronting myself enough. No, for me, it's just, I'm like, my rent's already just gone up, and I'm already in that situation of like, I am going to be pinching pennies.
I don't know, because it's amazing.
But you have,
good
because
I
you have
am at strategizing. Because I've had to confront all those things, I'm like really aware of my weakness. That then makes me really aware of how to kind of
overcome it.
And yeah.
But it's also like,
plans.
the thing is, I mean, I guess what paranoid does is it does just make people, it forces them into situations of being more giving and selfless, and just having to shift their lives in massive ways to like look after their kids. And you can do it with a little, and you can, you know, because I just look at how much work goes into it, and how people like just from less advantaged places do it, you know, on like $900, and you know can still raise like, you know, kids and stuff.
Yeah.
People become resourceful when you have to provide for someone else.
Kids that end up going to Oxford.
Yeah,
and, like, you know, bring down fucking Cecil John Rhodes.
Yeah, although unfortunately that's still an anomaly. It's not the norm, and it's because you have to. I mean, if you work hard enough to get yourself out of a township, you're obviously going to work hard enough to get.
That horrible, like, I don't know if you ever remember that, like, picture of like a kid studying under fucking candlelight.
Yeah.
You know, there's that, like, again, that poverty porn of like, you know, oh, you're gonna struggle so hard, but like,
eventually, that's exactly it.
Yeah, it's.
That's the thing that, like, so we can say like, yes, you know, like some kids have made it to Oxford out of townships, but it's like more kids from private, more kids from private schools made it to Oxford.
Yeah, probably not Oxford.
Maybe not Oxford, but you know what I mean. Like more kids from private schools made it to like good universities than the few kids who overcame all the obstacles. The kids who didn't like get washed away by a river walking to school in Eastern Cape, you know, like,
or didn't fall into a fucking pit latrine.
Exactly, like
that had already been paid to be fucking, you know,
exactly,
made into a proper fucking toilet.
So that's exactly it. It's like and that's, I guess, is both of our issues with things. Is just like the opportunities aren't the same. They aren't fair. Like it's not like, there's so many kids just aren't actually even given the opportunity to ever get to Oxford, and like the few like who manage to overcome their circumstances.
Not that I think that Oxford is something that people should be like. It's
no, like but we're putting
attaining to at all. But
I mean, if
it
is your goal, it's an admirable goal.
Fees must fall. Like, you know, there are so many ways to educate yourself
other than university.
Yeah,
I agree, and like at risk of definitely catching some heat, like I do definitely see that online a lot, like where people like are complaining about their studies and how hectic it is and stuff like that. And I know like I definitely have white privilege in that regard, and that like I didn't have to study, but like like I created my own thing whilst working multiple jobs, and so that I could get work experience and all that, because I didn't study and couldn't study. Well, I probably could have, but I didn't, and whatever. And so a lot of the time, like, well, but at the same time, maybe that is the big difference with me being white, is I was always like, I can still get a job, you know, whereas like I think a lot of black people maybe have that thing of like they have to get a degree to even be considered.
Exactly.
Like, whereas
in order to get out of that cycle of poverty, that is the only option that is available.
For me, it was like, I just don't want to do those, like I don't want to go into places that require me to do that, you know, like. So I just shifted things, and I know other people do that as well. You know, people see, like, we all see, well, not all of us, but a lot of different people see systems in place and go, I don't want to be a part of that one. And maybe more people need to do that instead of subscribing to what they're being sold.
And finding other systems as well.
Because the problem is,
other ways to
university, like, while I can say, like, you know, it's a sham, it is also a sham. It's a business that's there to make you think that you need it so that you can get a job. It's no longer a place where you go to just get educated anymore. It's vocational training. It's like even going to UKZN, it's not that different from going to, you know, a TVET college. Like, you know, they're the same thing. You're learning different skills, but you're just learning something to get a job. Like, a lot of the time, like, people don't go
I think they are, like, I mean, I've found the degree that I'm working on at the moment, like, so
This is
fucking inspiring. Like,
That's
so
awesome.
inspiring. But it would never have done what it's doing for me now had I done it
when you're
when
young.
I was younger.
Actually, that's a good. Let's actually talk about that.
Yeah.
Do you think you should study out of school? Because this is something like even now I'm like maybe I should start studying now because I'm
Yeah.
like now I've got an idea. Like I'm 32 now.
Exactly. Now I've got a fucking idea of what I fucking
And because
want
it's
to know
no
about
because it's no
more.
longer about what do I want to do or what do I want to become.
Exactly.
So you know, back in the day, I used to want to study philosophy, politics, economics because I
Yeah.
wanted to become a politician.
Yeah.
Like,
oh my god, pop the president. That would
Yeah,
have been great.
that was my goal. Like when I was young, I was like,
Could still
yeah.
happen.
There's too many naked pictures of me on the internet.
It could still happen.
Yeah, fuck, we're living in the age of Donald Trump.
Like
So
someone raped someone and they
And
were
it's
still
still-
able to get
I mean, well,
become president.
yeah, I mean, so let's not go down that path of just the evilness. I'm actually trying to think now. Where do we go? How long have we done? Cool. We're well over an hour,
are
but
we?
I still. Well, no, we're not well over, but yeah, where do we want to go from here? Still
Well,
with the
educate-
photography things.
You want to
Okay.
go? Okay.
'Kay.
Educational photography.
Oh yeah, yeah, the educational thing. So as we get older, like, so do you think it's better to study? But that is the problem that we have with our education system is that like well, with the varsity system, like I was saying, like it's created so that you get a job from. Well, it's not even created so you get a job from it. It's created so you think you'll get a job from it. Like a lot of people get degrees and can't get jobs afterwards.
No, I know.
Like because
And like a lot of people have got like a fucking masters and they're earning like, I know, they're earning like half what I'm fucking earning at the moment. And
Wow.
I've got like no fucking degree behind me at all.
But
And, like,
you've got work experience. I
I've
mean,
got work experience.
and so that was the thing that I saw was like, for me, like creating Durban is Yours, the whole thing was like, and I said like I'd give it 3 years because that would be a varsity degree,
Yeah.
and like so that would be 3 years
Yeah.
of actual work experience
Yeah.
though, like of doing the thing that I want to do,
Yeah.
like obviously being taught
And
it.
learning
would-
professional skills as well, learning how to like manage people and
Yes,
you know.
that's it. That's the thing. You're in the industry. You're not just being
Yeah.
taught by someone in the industry of how it's going to be in 3 years' time.
But I also think not
But
all
I
degree is created equal. Like,
Agreed
and
entirely.
also, when you approach
Also, I'm
it,
ignorant
and
as fuck in this shit. So
people who approach it to just kind of get the degree, who then go out to get, you know, the job, like that's one approach to it. But and maybe it's because I'm doing it as an older student, but when you're going at it because you actually just want to
learn. See, that to
No,
me,
and-
that
and
to me
like
is
just
what
kind of
university should be.
Exactly.
Like that's what it should be sold to everyone as, and that's
but
how
who has the luxury of that?
exactly. You see, this is.
Like
But,
I've got the luxury now because I've got a steady job and I can pay for those.
but
like,
you say
that
you've
and
got the
afford
luxury of
to-
it, but it's still taking up a lot of your time. Like it's still not a luxury because you bring up a kid and you've got a full-time job.
It's a grind,
So,
but it's still a
yes,
fucking
it's
luxury.
still
to
a
be
luxury
able
that
to like
you have.
indulge myself in like, you know, learning about like conceptual fucking art and like.
Yeah, I mean
it's
that's not
amazing
exactly
it's-
survivalist.
Exactly,
Like, it's
you
not
know?
essential to your survival, but,
But I think
it
it's
is though.
essential to mankind. Like I
Exactly.
really think it's essential to us being able to communicate well with each other and to being able to empathize. And especially when people are stuck in a bubble, it's one of the ways that you can like burst that bubble
It's through art. Yeah,
yeah.
You can confront people through imagery, through words, through
in
everything.
a much more effective way.
I mean, I look at my own life and
Yeah.
most of the ideas that like, you know, I swallow are ones that were given to me in a way that was either pleasing or not. Like, you know, like it was either jarring or it was pleasing, but either way,
Yeah.
it's something that like stuck in your mind and the idea then mulls around on you just because of the way it was presented to you. So of course, art has a huge importance in discourse. Like, and I do think varsity is important. Like, I think everyone should be able to go to varsity to learn whatever they want.
Yeah, and also to be
Like-
to be taught to think critically.
Yeah, but critical thinking is not a part of all varsity courses.
Exactly. So not all varsity courses are created equal, but to be able to think critically
I mean, critical thinking is like probably the most important thing you could
is
learn
the most
right
important
now.
thing. Absolutely.
Like, we're in the age of misinformation. So
Absolutely.
even me, I think I'm pretty good at critical thinking. I think I'm a pretty reasonable human being. And there's a lot of days where I'm just like, I don't
You
know
got
what to believe
hoodwinked.
anymore.
Yeah.
Like, not even I got hoodwinked. It's like, I can't take a position here because I don't know what to believe. Like, I I can't trust any of the evidence, and that's a horrible position. That's like one of the horrible things about the state that we're in now. Like it's the
a state of being gaslighted.
Yeah, the
all
1984
time.
versus Brave New World, like shit that everyone always talks about. Like,
yes.
and that's it. Like that is we're living in both at the same time. Like, and it's completely frustrating because it's nowhere near as exciting as it seemed in the books. Like,
no, it's really
mundane.
humdrum. Hey,
Like,
it's so boring. But I don't know.
But that's what I
also
think.
Get
Like,
frustrated with people, and like, I think the boringness of life isn't just to do with the like socio-political kind of climate that we're in at the moment. It's also because people just fucking settle. Like, have some fucking high expectations.
Yeah, but the settling is on purpose. Like, the settling is also part of the program. Like, you know, like you're meant to, once you are comfortable.
So you finish matric, you go to university, you get the BCom degree, you fucking get a job, you get married, you have 2.4 kids, and then what?
What do you mean? You're done.
So sad.
It is, but I mean, like, but there's lots around that, and people live their lives around that, and like, I don't.
And you can, and like,
we don't all have to have.
In like, it's not deepest, darkest white suburbia, but we're living in white suburbia.
Where you at?
And just behind Inzibeni Hospital.
Oh snap! Okay.
And
well, no one's gonna know exactly where, so it's
sure.
fine.
And I think it's really important and I regard myself as quite radical, and I live myself and regard my life as quite radical. And I think it's important for radical people to be living in kind of your humdrum white suburbia kind of, you know.
So the hatred just grows every day.
No, because you get to confront those people on like a kind of same level basis and challenge them on that playing field, which creates a whole other dynamic.
Well, I was gonna say, doesn't that then just does that create conflict for you? Does that create weird situations where you're now that person who is being disruptive within like those spaces?
I mean, I'm not like actively going out and picketing outside their homes, but like.
But you're bringing it up when they drop a little like racist thing.
Yeah, exactly. Like, you know, that's really racist. And they kind of like look at you and like, I think it's important to do that in like a kind of, you know, subliminal way. Well, not subliminal, but like very kind of.
Yeah, I don't think
confrontational, but without being confrontational way of just kind of like, you know, that's really racist.
Yeah, I don't think any black person's going to be like surprised that you have to tell other white people that they're being racist, but they might be a bit surprised that a white person's telling another white person that they're being racist.
That should be the norm. That should really be the fucking norm.
And that's what I like about.
Again, it doesn't have to be in this kind of like, you're being a fucking racist. Like, what the fuck's your problem? Because that's more about your fucking issues. Yeah, it's about. It's more about you needing to fucking stand on a box and feel important.
To make sure, and also so that you make sure that people don't think you're a racist, because you're
that
dealing
kind
with
of
your
self-defensive.
Yeah, because you are dealing still with your own racism, because we're white, we've been brought up racist.
Yeah.
Like, that is the truth. Like, that is the truth of the matter, and you're forever trying to not be like, you know, and trying to unlearn what you're brought up with. And so, you know, people will do it unknowingly sometimes even, and like, you know, they'll. And so, but also, so you're like, they'll be like trying to fight other racists because they have racist thoughts still, and they hear it, other people saying them. Yeah.
And it's that othering thing, is that like finding the abject.
Yeah, so it's like
you said you're not me, so I'm gonna like really make sure that you're not
exactly.
me, and like you are like.
But it's also, you said the thing 5 years that I said 5 years ago. So like 5 years ago, I would have said that thing that you just said, but I'm not that person anymore. I don't want to be seen as that person anymore. So fuck you, you're terrible. And I'm saying this because me, like, I've done this. Like, is that exact thing of like, you see yourself in that person, and so you're shitty to them because you just don't. You hate yourself almost for like like that's it. You're like, you hate seeing yourself like, reflected in another person, and so you take it out on them, like, because you used to like, you know, have racist thoughts and say racist things, and like not just racism, just all of it. You know, like, yeah. So it's a very complicated mess, like that you do that to other people. Sometimes you take out your own insecurities and problems that
and we see it on social media all the time, like somebody like fucking like jumping on and like
someone who like 2 weeks ago was a misogynist and then learned that misogyny was bad.
It's like the greatest feminist ever, please somebody sit on my dick, you know, kind of shit. Like yeah. I mean, once again, I was kind of that guy at times, so like I hope I called you out on it.
I'm sure you did at times. Like, yeah, there was only ever a woman who really called me out, like, on my
Shit,
shit.
women are burdened with doing a lot of that.
I know.
Black women are fucking burdened with doing a lot of that.
Yeah, but we are going to end
Oh,
on
sorry,
the
yeah,
thing that I
keep
wanted
going.
to talk to you about most of the time is photography. What are you doing with it these days? So you're doing the product stuff for
I'm doing the product
jewelry.
stuff, which I don't really see as. I mean, it's really mechanical. It's
it's
there's a
the
very
job.
mechanical part of photography, and that is just like
It's lighting, shutter speed, just cool. Lumens are correct.
Yeah, make
Got-
sure your composition's like attractive, etc. So
what?
photography.
Yeah,
for
what
me
makes it
is-
creative for you? Because I mean, those are the basics.
With the visual arts degree, what I'm having to do is, I'm using my photography to create resource material for my various assignments that I have to do. So I have to draw, I have to paint, and I'm using my photography to create resource material to do that.
So what's it like to paint now and draw now?
It is
Have you always
fucking
done it or
hard.
no?
No, this is
Yeah, like
I
getting into it in
only-
your 30s
I know,
is
like,
insane.
What am I doing? I'm like so out of my depth. But also it's so nice to, just dive into something that's like,
You
it's
just
completely fucking raw at and
What? Yeah, how does
just
that
kinda
feel? Like,
submit
do you?
to my ignorance?
I mean, I guess there must be a lot of frustration, but at the same time, like, there must be a lot of just
It's
fun.
very exhilarating.
Yeah.
It's like so I've always done nude modeling for figure drawing classes.
As in, you've been the model.
Yes.
Yeah, we've done that together, not for
Yes.
figure modeling, but for.
So
Yeah.
for kind of art projects, but also for
Okay, but why though?
why
Why do you pose?
I find it incredibly expressive, and there's something amazing about sitting still for a very long time and like
The nudity has nothing to do with it, like being naked in front of people.
a bit of an exhibitionist.
Yeah.
I think like the naked form isn't always about exhibition, and I don't think it is for me at all. Like, in fact, it's like.
Do you think
quite
it's
a
the exact
private
opposite?
space.
Like-
yes, it's a very private space, and often when, especially in like the art classes that I pose for, I get to see more into the various artists
Because of
actually
what they
drawing.
produce, or even when they're
Just
drawing.
because of their
How they draw.
how they interact with the space. You get to see so much more.
I mean, you could
In
obviously
fact,
see their
they're
own
way more
insecurities and
naked
like,
than
yes.
I am. So
Because you're actually observing them the whole time.
the whole time, yeah.
And like, so whilst
So
they're.
it's a really interesting study of humans.
How's it affected your photography being the person posing?
I find it really hard to photograph models. Like I don't really
Because of it, or just in
I
general?
don't know. I just haven't found like my groove with it. Yeah, maybe there's just like too much going on conceptually in my mind about it.
What is it about?
but
Is it about
that's
the?
actually literally something that I've just thought about now. So I don't.
Or,
yeah.
I mean, but is it like interacting with the person thing, or getting
Yeah, I
them
mean,
to
I
do what you
love
need, or like?
I mean, like also my job at the moment is product, so it's very
Yeah,
kind of
but
like
that's what I'm saying. Like, so you want an exact result,
But
and
for
you're not going to
instance,
get that with the model.
that I'm doing at the moment for my art project is that I'm photographing mannequins. So it's
Yeah.
like very like the non-human form posed
As a human.
kind of, and I'm very interested in robots, and I'm very interested in how like.
But do you prefer the mannequins?
It just creates a more interesting. Well, currently a more interesting dynamic for like where my thought process is going at the moment.
But it's also not like an ability to pose them however you want, and like not relying on them.
No,
Or not at all.
No. I mean, like,
So that's got nothing to do with it. So you
no,
never.
like they're
It's
really
never about the
static.
model
They're
doing the.
incredibly difficult
That's
to
what I'm saying, but
pose
like,
at all.
but it's never about the model not doing what you want in the
No,
photo.
no,
Okay.
no. This is
I
more.
was worried about that.
No, no. This is more just like that interesting idea of. I mean, like, I've been hearing a lot about like, so robotics, kind of like the.
This
the
is one of my
leaders
big
in,
like
in robotics are
things
like
at the moment.
sex dolls.
Yes.
Like they are they are the forerunners.
Well, yes,
in terms
porn
of
were the
that
forerunners of
technology
streaming and
like,
everything,
your,
yes.
your virtual reality and all of that kind
Yeah.
of technology that's coming into effect. So I'm really fascinated with that idea of like relationships between a human being and an inanimate object.
It's kind of crazy that there's going to be like.
ethical kind of like questions around that, and
What are the ethical questions?
are there ethical the questions.
Well, it depends on how
those
much
are-
consciousness they have.
Does it?
Yes.
Does it? So there's a robot that is able to be programmed to say no, be frigid, the frigid mode. So basically it's a robot that has a rapeable program. Exactly.
You see, I don't know, if that's
Exactly.
a good or a bad
Like, what
thing,
the
because
fuck?
it's like if you have people with those tendencies, if they now have a way to enact
with,
them, or does it
children
enable
dolls,
them?
child
Exactly, because
dolls,
this is the thing. This is the
Yeah.
conversation, and that's the question. Is does it now enable them to do it to other people, or does it now remove them from the situation? Is it by giving them an outlet that they now are exercising
Or are
their
we
tendencies,
just,
or are we now enabling
is
them?
society so fucking lonely and we're so disconnected from our humanity that we're more capable of having an intimate relationship with an inanimate object, and it's
See, I don't know.
easier for us to act out our
I don't know if it's loneliness or convenience or just fear or just there's a lot of things, but I don't know if it's just loneliness. That's the reason why someone gets a robot. I think there's a lot of things
and is it a control thing? Is it about
you see
being
that's
able
that's
to
that's where I would think it's more a thing of you don't
never
want
being challenged?
exactly you don't really want to date someone who can say no, who isn't
Is
your
gonna pull you out on
ideals.
your
Who,
shit.
exactly.
Yeah.
I mean, it can lead to some very fucked up. I don't think it's necessarily. I think sex dolls can be an interesting thing. I think on the whole, probably psychologically going to be terrible. But I think for a few people, sex dolls could actually be very necessary.
You gotta buy someone who's disabled.
Exactly. That's exactly what I was thinking. Just but also socially not socially disabled, just social issues, and just you have different.
However,
But at the same time, developing attachments to
Isn't
inanimate objects definitely is
but
psychologically.
don't we already do that in some ways as
Yeah,
well?
we do.
So so these are
I
kind
mean,
of
what's the difference between a vibrator and a sex doll?
that abject human form,
The form.
that the actual human form. And so this is something.
I mean,
that I'm
it's just
thinking about quite a lot.
But the thing is, a pocket pussy versus
And-
a
and
vibrator also just aren't the same thing.
And like most female vibrators, they do not look like dicks. There's a
No.
dildo, and then you get a fucking vibrator. It looks like something made out of space, and it's fucking amazing.
Yeah.
It looks like extraterrestrial and fantastic.
From what I understand, the best vibrators are the weirdest vibrators.
Yeah, they look fucking weird and
and they can do weird things. They get to different spots.
Yeah,
They
and
hit places that.
sensual bats, and there's sensory ones, and there's amazing developments in female sex toys.
Yeah, so that's the thing.
and
As
yes,
guys,
there's
we can
also
always
been,
be a bit more jealous of you guys, because you guys were on the forefront of sex technology for the longest, in terms of vibrators.
No, I mean a lot of the sex toys that were developed to treat female
Feel with hysteria. Yes, you guys were given ecstasy and vibrators to deal with hysteria.
I haven't sourced it, checked those sources on that, but
well, there was. I mean, yeah, I've heard that as well.
Yeah.
But I mean, there is the thing of just ecstasy and cocaine and heroin being prescribed in the early 1900s a lot. People were prescribed drugs that nowadays you go to jail to take. It's amazing. But yeah, the sex doll thing is crazy, but it is leading to advancements just in the facial technology of robots, the humanoid version of it.
Yeah.
You got Boston
and that
Dynamics.
has amazing kind of ripple effects in terms of prosthetics and
Exactly.
But then you see I've also got this kind of a bit of resistance, and it's problematic for me to say, but I'm not able-bodied. I've got nothing that I would need to have done to me
So you are able-bodied.
I am able-bodied. I've got nothing that needs to happen to me from fix my aesthetics or anything that I feel. And what would happen if I had an accident or something? Everyone would kind of jump well, you've got to fix that. Well, maybe you don't have to fix that. Maybe that's it's more important for you to have to deal with that. So that's the thing about modeling, is that you are forced you have to be completely still for an hour. And it really makes me think about, the supposed freedom that we have with our bodies, and is it not important for us to also understand that our bodies are also that cage that kind of holds us in as well, and that we're more than our body. It's like our body isn't us.
Well, I mean, that is what makes us different, is that we're
And
more
I
than our
think
body.
we're
Well, it's what we
living in
think
a,
it
like,
makes
day and
us more.
age where like technology is developing that keeps reinforcing that you are your body, and like keeps bringing you back into that. And I think that has kind of correlating like themes in terms of race, and in terms of aesthetics, and in terms of like gender, and all of those things. Like
Everything is about your appearance, not just your body, but like literally how you look. Like,
and it
it's
shouldn't
the
be.
vessel
That's
that you're
really
in.
superficial. It's a superficial understanding of who you are as a person.
But when it comes to robots now, like, how superficial is the understanding? Like,
Completely. I mean, it's like they're being made by, I don't know if you've seen any of the interviews. with
I've
that
seen,
guy.
yes, the Japanese dude.
Yeah,
Like,
yeah.
yes.
No, he's not Japanese. The guy in California.
Oh no, which guy in California?
I don't know. I'll CC you the link.
Oh
Like,
no, I know.
created-
Like, I know.
but,
Like, I
like-
saw a thing of like with like in Japan, like they're making like child dolls. Like,
Oh, okay. No,
Yeah.
I'm not talking about the child
No.
dolls one. I can't go there.
yeah.
But
That's the
so-
thing that just got me fucked up, because it is a thing of like,
So the
Is this
guy
good or
who's
bad? 'Cause I
creating the robots
think it's
that
probably
are like
bad.
having like serious AI, like they're able to respond back to you, like they're learning, they're kind of. I mean, it's not complete AI, but it is really kind of.
when Skynet comes online, it's my eternal fear, man. Well, actually, it's not a fear. It's just the biggest question I have is, will the singularity happen before humanity kills itself?
I don't think it matters.
Well, it does for intelligent life to continue, because I feel like robots will be the next intelligent life that
we'll
exists.
be so fucking oblivious, because that
Well,
kind
we'll
of
be dead.
intelligence will be so fucking like.
Beyond our understanding.
Yeah.
If it happens, I mean, there's also possibility that it won't.
But we're assimilating.
Well,
because
that's the other thing,
aesthetic
is us
reasons.
just becoming cyborgs, like, and then that just being the future is also third
Yeah.
option.
And I think that is driven by this kind of appearance thing more, and like this kind of eternal youth thing, and like wanting to maintain that. And I think there's something profoundly human that we're missing about our bodies degenerating and getting old, and like having to, on a psychological level, having to live inside a body that is not doing the things that in your mind you can do.
But do you not think it's always been the goal of humans to live forever? Like, that's why we created heaven and hell. Like,
Yeah,
that's
but
why
who
we.
fucking wants to? It sounds like a really boring idea.
I mean, well, what's the alternative?
You fucking
Non-existence.
Value, no, you fucking value the life that you have here and
Oh,
now.
of course. I mean, I value the life that I have here and
You
now.
won't
But if
you
I
know
could,
it's going to go on forever.
no, I mean, I don't think you could go on forever. But I would, like, I'm curious. Like, between, like, that's the thing. Like, I feel like I'm more curious than I am suicidal. And so, like,
Good to know.
yeah, like, that's why, like, I keep, like, carrying on. Because I'm always like, you know what? Like, let's see what tomorrow's going to bring. Or not even tomorrow. Let's see what next week's going to bring. Tomorrow's probably going to be shit. But, I want to see if the robots beat global warming. Like, that is forever going to just be but it's probably just going to be fascism that takes over. Anyway,
You're very cynical.
I am rather cynical, but I'm also very hopeful. Like, but I am just constantly driven into cynicism.
Yeah, I think cynicism's healthy though. It keeps us in check.
It does, but as Oscar Wilde said, and like I've exhibited it multiple times, is like, a cynic is someone who knows the price of everything and the value of nothing. And there's been multiple times in my life where I've known exactly the price of stuff and like negated the emotional value of it just because like of knowing the financial price and being and valuing it in that regard.
Yeah.
So,
and I think this is the same thing with wanting to kind of upgrade our bodies and live forever. Like, I think what we're actually going to be paying is not what we realize.
Yes. I mean, I don't know. I mean, it is probably the next step in human evolution is like virtual reality and, fucking robotics and stuff like that. But will we still be human is definitely a very good question.
And what is being human?
Well, Yes, that's. I mean, that's the big.
Do you
question.
know what did you ask me at the beginning? Like, who are you now? Like,
Yeah.
what do you know yourself now?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
I think we can probably end there.
Yeah,
This
that's
has
a good note.
been a fun. This definitely didn't go the way I thought. Like, I thought we were gonna talk so much more about photography, but this has been so much better actually. Like, and like that's why I love
Glad,
talking
I'm
to you, is
glad.
because our conversation, like we that's the thing, is we do have conversations like this off mic, so it's not like
Yeah.
we had it for the audience, but having an audience definitely did, like, there were times where I was like, how
Oh shit.
not oh shit, but just like, you know, how qualified are we to have conversations?
No,
like, but
I think there are
but at the same time, you need
things to think about.
exactly for us and for whoever's listening to this. So thank you so much for your time, Caelin. It's been so cool getting to know you, even
Always.
just a little bit better.
Aw.
Like, we know each other
Thanks, man.
pretty well at this point, but like that's what's been so dope about doing these podcasts with people, is
Yeah.
I get to find out more. I get to like learn more about them, and yeah, thank you so much for your time.
Bad. It was awesome.